Right, hey, good morning, everybody. Thank you for making the time to come to the industry briefing, virtual as it is. My name is Matthew Denner, and I'm the procurement specialist here at Procurement Australia. Today, we will be taking hopefully no more than 35 to 45 minutes of your time to look at the commercial furniture re-tender briefing. And I think we have pretty much everybody here. My colleague Tony, who looks after the tech side, will mute everybody from this point on. At the end, there will be an opportunity for questions. Do feel free to use the chat function whilst we're going along as well. Anything that we can address today, we will. If we can't, we're very happy to take that offline. Again, with regards to the questions, if you have anything specific, particular or detailed to yourselves, then please do feel free to take that offline, and I'll be very happy to answer any questions that you have between now and when the tender goes live. So, the briefing. Commercial furniture contract. Why are we here? Well, very simply, the commercial furniture contract is a hardy perennial from Procurement Australia's side, and the current iteration is coming to an end. So we are looking now at giving you the contract summary of where we are at the moment, the tender and what we propose, and we're looking also for your feedback. A little bit more detail there. Obviously, we've worked up the specification, and I'd like to thank those current suppliers who've been kind to share their time in the last few months. But obviously, this is an opportunity for us to reach out more broadly to the industry as a whole and seek your input and your response on what we have in mind. By which I mean to say that after the briefing, this slide deck will be made available to you in a thank you email. And later this week or early next week, draft specifications will also be made available upon request. So please do drop me a line and let me know if you'd like. See them, and that'll be your opportunity to take a look at them with any thoughts that you have around the tenders, but at the same time, you're the specialists in your sectors. We have an agenda page. It's pretty much what you'd expect to see. There's an overview about us for those of you who don't know us, a bit of an overview of the contract. We look at scope and structure, process for the tender, obviously a few other hints, and then obviously questions at the end. So an overview of Procurement Australasia. Well, first and foremost, we are a number of businesses. There's Procurement Australia, and that's where I'm speaking to you, if you like, from that part of the business. And that is principally comes out of the local government space. And then obviously we have Church Resources, and then we have Space Station as well. So in terms of a history, what you can see there is that we've been around since 1985. So we've been here for a little while and we know our stuff. As mentioned, we came out of the local government space. We're a for-profit business with shareholders, and our shareholders are local government. We are now a national operation and a national business with a national membership. Some 3 or 4 years ago, we acquired the membership of Church Resources, which was the procurement arm of the Catholic Church in Australia. And that brought us on a large member base in the not-for-profit space to go with our local government and general business and utility space that we already had. And you can see there today, we have a large member base now, perhaps 24,000 or so, and a fair proportion of that is quite active. In terms of our services, well, very simply, we've got our publicly tendered standing offer contracts, which is what this one will be. And then we have a number of other services that we also provide, obviously, to our membership. So as you can see, we're not a single string to the bow. We've got multiple offerings within the same space, and that makes us broadly attractive to our membership. We're also quality assured and accredited. I did look into this, and our sourcing process, as I understand it, has actually been ISO compliant, I believe, for about 20 years or so. So in that sense, and this is perhaps no small thing to note, what the process is that you follow and we ask you to go through. It is a quality process, and we are known in the industry for having a quality process. In terms of benefits to members, it's reasonably straightforward here, particularly in the local government space, noting the local government legislation requirements. If they come to us, if they engage with a supplier under our panel, then it greatly reduces the amount of time and effort involved, because we are an authorised tendering agent under the legislation in Victoria and New South Wales. If they come directly to you, or you and go directly to them, then usually their process is a much longer and more involved process. Also, it's a broad product offering. Procurement Australia has, I think, north of 30 to 35 other contracts, broad-based high-level contracts such as IT, office products, debt collection, and so on and so forth. What we provide here is a high-level approach within this commercial furniture space, but also more broadly, and it gives them the advantages, if you like, of the supermarket approach to things. They can come in for one thing, they have a level of comfort with a particular contract that we have, and then they can see that we have other offerings as well, which means that we become a one-stop shop for them. Obviously, again, down here, we also see that flexible contract arrangements. With this particular contract, we have members who pre-commit to the contract before we go to market, and then there are members who can opt in throughout the life of the contract. Now, the opt-in process is very straightforward, and our sales team, we have a sales team, I'll talk a little bit more about them. I'm more than happy to help you and help the member engage with you in that way. So when you look at our member base, when you look at the pre-committed members, you need to bear in mind, obviously, that the pre-committed members to a contract can be quite small, but it is open to grow right over the life of the contract. The benefits to your good selves are largely what you saw on the previous page with a slight tweaking of the language. I think, as I said, particularly here, we have our own sales team. Now, they are obviously supplier agnostic. Nevertheless, they're constantly going out to bring new members into the business broadly and grow the pond that way. And also, they're looking to promote the contracts as a whole, admittedly, but all of the contracts to the member base. So they are also keyed up and geared to putting business through the contract. In terms of the current contract, the overview is this. It's commercial furniture, or rather, this is the one we're looking at. It has its own number. We're looking again at a 3-year option with 2 up to 1 year options to extend, and this is for the new contract. We're looking to start March next year. We're looking to expire, obviously, thereafter, February 25. We're looking at 3 categories at the moment, and the committed members up to now are 10. Now, just to give you an idea of it, in terms of active members under the current contract, we have probably in the region, perhaps circa 200 or so active members under the contract. As mentioned, the draft specification is still under review, and I would look to be able to release that to you either later this week or early next week. If you have any particular questions, and please do have a look at them, we very much value your feedback. We're aware that there is a commercial aspect to what we're doing here, but it's also an information opportunity for you to speak to us. Please do come back to me with anything detailed by the 25th of August, so a couple of weeks. But I'm also, as I say, very happy to take any calls or queries you have on process right up until the time we go to tender. In terms of the objectives, straightforwardly, to deliver a compliant tender under the Local Government Act, and obviously provide the members with a panel of experienced suppliers, and basically give them a central managed standing offer contract that allows for RFQ activity. That's largely how business is conducted in many of our contracts, so please do bear that in mind. In terms of tender scope, I mentioned that we had 3 contracts. We have potentially 3 categories. What we're looking at here are very simply desks, workstations, associated products and services, seating and so forth, and storage cabinets, units, and associated. Again, to be finalized, but this is the view that we have at the time. Looking at the first category, you can see that we've listed a number of items there, which we believe are the core items required. So please do feel to cast your eye down that list there. And then on to the right here, we've got points to consider. Now, most of these points here will repeat and the other slides going forward. So I'll just speak to anything that's unique to this proposed category and perhaps to a couple of each of the repeats. So first and foremost, this is the key question, and this is where we're looking for your feedback. Is it reflective of the demand, which is usage is principally local government, and not-for-profit? When you look at this, is this what your clients in this space want? If the answer is yes, that's fine. If there's anything missing, please let me know. If there are things that are listed here which is really, no, not anymore, also that is good to know as well. Thank you. In terms of this particular contract, I think the key area here that I've been told is that pods, either acoustic pods or privacy booths, however you want to describe them, it all sounds very much TARDIS-like to myself, but there we are. That is a development from last time, particularly in this space, local government and NFP and so on. So the industry has been very considerate to provide me with some details and information in this area. If you have a view on this, please do let me know. If you have any details or stats, anything further, please do feel free to share them with me. The second proposed category, seating and associated products. Again, similar structure. This is what we have in mind. So this comes obviously from the current contract and from feedback from industry to date. Again, does this reflect the demand? And then building on that, you'll note we talk about supply, delivery, installation, and obviously and disposal. Obviously, it's the supply and delivery of these products and services. Installation, I appreciate, can be quite a variable beast. Some people talk in terms of debagging. Some people talk in more detail about it. And I note that disposal, from what I've heard, is also a live area. I understand that some areas of the industry also talk in terms, I think, of sort of a whole of life or other terminology. Obviously, this is a key point that is particularly of interest to our members, principally within the local government space. So again, any thoughts, feedback, input that you have in this area, I'd be much appreciated. The third category, again, storage cabinets, units, and associated products and services. As before, this is the list that we've had, which we suggest to you is of interest and is currently being used. Please again take a look. Your advice and thoughts are valued. And looking now at these other 2 points, again, current standards. We've got a number here, and it's very much a sort of an alphabet soup, but we understand that there are a number in this particular space. If there is anything that is missing, if there are a set of standards that have been omitted, then please do flag those with myself and let me know. In terms of social responsibility, and again, this applies to all of these categories, what we're talking about there very much is such things as the recycling element, where the products are made. Are they made onshore? Are they made generally to Australian standard, and so on and so forth. But this is a particular interest to the local government space, so we will be paying attention to it, and we would value your feedback in this space. In terms of how the evaluation and award works, again, basically you can tender for any one or all combination of the categories, and the award will be on a by category basis, and it'll be by state or national. Over here on the left, you can see this is suggestive, indicative criteria for how we look at the evaluation, but it gives you a flavor of sort of how we approach these things. You can see that we split at the high level into core areas, and then we break down here. But again, this is just to give you an idea of how things work. In terms of the tender structure, I think the key thing is to say that parts A through F all form the tender suite, and this comes in the TenderLink download. TenderLink is where we load our tenders, and that's where you'll download them from. Particular point I'd just like to talk to here is Part C and Part D. Part C is basically the head agreement. It's the deed of standing offer, and that would be executed between us and yourselves. And then Part D is the sub-agreement general conditions of contract with yourselves and the clients, the members. The reason why I flag those two things in particular is because when I come on to look at Part F, the returnable schedules, which are still to be finalized, I want to draw your attention, if I can please, to proposed contract departures, Schedule 14. Now, I note that perhaps in other business areas, you might run through a tendering process, you might be awarded, and then you might discuss contractual variations. That is not what we do here. Contractual variations, departures in regards to the deed and so on, those are all discussed before the award. So if and when you choose to download the tender documents and you have you feel that you may make a submission, please do pass the tender documents, specifically the tender documents, past your legal team if you have such, or the person responsible for such, and have them look at them before you make your submission, okay? Because we will be looking for any concerns that you have with clause A5 or some such to appear in this schedule. There are, I note, 16 of these. You'll be pleased to know that at least 2 of them simply require somebody to sign in the right place. We very much look at these response schedules as being what is the least that we need to ask you. So we bear that in mind. That's our philosophy. In terms of the tender process, well, the tender process is myself as your tender manager, and here you can see the standard role that I have down here. This is just a general overview slide for you, just to give you a feel of who does what and when in the process. I shan't speak too much to it. If you have any questions, then obviously, again, please do feel free to raise them. The tender timetable, well, here we are today on Wednesday the 11th. We're looking to advertise in mid-September to let the tender on the 15th, Wednesday the 15th. We'll close it off, at least this is the indicative timetable, on the 6th of October, and we'll look to award on the 10th of December or thereabouts, to begin no later than the 1st of March next year. Again, in terms of tender download and clarifications, I mentioned tender link before. Tender documents can only be obtained via tender link. Please note the following data here, the points here to make. Please follow the instructions in the RFT advert for tender link registration if you need to do so. Okay, clarifications over here. So this is talking at the point during the tender. Questions must go through the tender link online forum, which is why I make a virtue of saying if you've got questions between now and when the tender goes live, you can just pick up the phone or send me an email and we can have a chat. Once the tender goes live, everything has to go through the online forum. And please note also the last date for questions during the tender let period, Wednesday the 29th of September. Just a brief overview for those of you who are very familiar with the tendering process. I'd ask you to bear with me. This entire deck is done on the basis that not everybody who's looking at it will be familiar with this process. Tenderers must submit, so please bear in mind what it is that you need to do. So all the returnable schedules duly signed where required. Please look at the formats of what we're asking you to return to us. And please also look at this important line here. Everything has to come back to us via TenderLink portal prior to the closing date and time. In terms of the income model, very simply, it's a rebate to us, and the rebate is defined as a percentage, exclusive sales plus GST on a monthly basis. The percentage will be in the tender documents. You will see it when you download it, so you'll be in a position to decide whether that works for you and you're happy to make a submission. Please note, you've got to include that rebate in your financial response. Again, just a couple of process slides here, which I won't talk to in too much detail here, but very simply, I mentioned there were pre-committed members, and then there's everybody else. So basically, it's with pre-committed members, they can just go straight ahead, and you can engage with them, they can engage with you. Any business is under the contract, very simply at a high level. In terms of the opt-in process, as mentioned, that's everybody else. There's an opt-in letter, and there's an opt-in letter process, which is automated now, or electronic rather, and our sales team will be very happy to facilitate that as when and needed. Again, another slide, a general process slide here. If you have any questions, again, happy to deal with it. I shan't talk to it, but I believe it's a relatively straightforward approach. In terms of tender hints, it's the usual sorts of things. Please answer every question as far as you can. Please articulate the response if you can and demonstrate the expertise. Charts and numbers are, of course, are a great joy because they save on words, and please don't use abbreviations. So what's next? This is the final official slide. And what we're looking at here, the draft specifications will be available, are available or will be available toward the end of this week or early next week. So please do drop me a line if you have a desire to see them. The RFT will be available for download from the 15th at tenderlink.com/Procurement Australia. And obviously we will be advertising this as well. You will need to register prior to downloading. And these are my contact details. So do feel free, please, to reach out. At this point, that concludes the formal briefing. If you'd like to unmute yourselves, you don't have to, but if you'd like to unmute yourselves to ask a question, then you're more than welcome to, and we'll try and manage that now. If anything we can't be answered now, we will look to come back to everybody offline with a general response. I'll just have a look in the chat to see if there's anything there that can be responded to now, and otherwise we'll go from there. Just like to thank everybody for your time at this point and to wish you all a good day.